Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Simply Sketchy. And today I once again managed to corral my American friend, Bleach Demon. And, well, you can actually introduce our today's subject if you wish.
Yeah, so this is broadly going to be the Hell Hound, Black Shuck, whatever term you want to call it, Church Grim or Kirka, Kirka Grima,
Kirkegrim.
something like that. Um, so this is very much a European cryptid that has kind of become very part of American folklore. So feel like this could open up some interesting conversations as well.
Yes.
So how familiar are you with the Hellhound or the Black Dog, Black Shuck, what have you?
You do have the Grim that is used in, like, folklore and mainly through Christian societies.
Mm-hmm.
This omen creature that just may kind of warns of something bad to happen, or even if you see it, it's gonna happen either to you or if you continue on the path you're on.
Mm-hmm. So
And
very much the Kirka Grim or
yep,
Kirko Grim. It depends
yep.
on if it's Swedish or Danish. Never actually seen it in Norwegian though.
It's how does the eyes and ears look?
They look normal except for in Finnish.
All right.
There's no umlauts or little O's with the strike through them.
All right. The always with the strike through them is Norwegian. The Swedes have instead of strikes, they have dots over it, two dots over
Yeah, I'm
it.
not seeing any of that in Swedish or Danish,
Yes.
and both are just basically Kurko Grim.
Which is just church grim, basically. Kirke.
Yeah.
Kirke. Kirke is basically a old Norwegian way of saying church, or even New Norwegian. But New Norwegian is sort of like this combined merging of old Norwegian dialects.
Mm.
So it's kind of weird. They tried to make it part of school, but nobody really got into it because it's bad enough that we have to read in Oslo. If you're gonna learn every accent around the country, then go screw yourself. But the thing is, you also have the word Hell Hound. There is a mythological significance to it as well, because there's a literal Hell Hound in Norse mythology. You know Hel,
Interesting.
yeah. You
Yeah.
have the goddess of death, Hel, and her hound, Grum. Or in more homosexual pronunciations, Gramr. I don't know why. I don't know why the
Interesting.
English. One thing I never understand is why people keep adding that weird R after every Norse name.
I couldn't tell you.
Exactly. It's weird. But yeah, it's the Hellhound is essentially just the Hound of Hel, or the Hound of Helheim, which is of course the name of. It's kind of like how sometimes the underworld in Greek mythology is called Hades, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because of the god of death.
Yes.
And it's kind of similar treatment. I think it's mostly because of the interpretation by the priests that gathered the lore of Norse mythology.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's one that, I mean, I just learned that the Cyrillic language, Cyrillic text, is derived from Saint Cyril, who left from Greece and wrote his own phonetic alphabet based on Greek for the Slavs.
Yes.
So there you go.
It is. It's interesting how things change. But
And also how there are themes that kind of run through, and that kind of really relates to the black dog, the hellhound.
But the thing about Grum is he isn't a wolf, but in like size and significance, he could be considered the only second, the only thing that is sort of like secondary to the Fenris, because Fenris
Mm,
is a destroyer of worlds. What everything on land or in sky, he will devour. While the
hmm
Jormungand, the Midgard serpent, takes and destroys the seas and throws the sea on land, right?
hmm,
Poisons the entire ocean it's in, and so on and so on. But Grum is essentially serving a role very similar to Cerberus in Greek
hmm.
mythology.
Yes, and see that's kind of you're starting to follow on very very nicely and early to some of like the old mythologies of the hellhounds
Mhm,
of the black dog, um, where there's this deep connection with the underworld.
mhm.
Yeah, and I think people, and there's that mentality. Oh, well, it must be a representative of evil, and it's like not necessarily. And with some of the lore that I've dredged up, and the American folklore around it too, it's very clear that like Grum
Grum.
and Cerberus, they're acting almost as protectors or guardians.
Yes, they are, or rather making sure that those who are dead cannot return.
Exactly.
Yeah, Grum is a guard dog. He is a hound that makes sure that the dead cannot uh, run away from
Mm-hmm.
either their just deserts in the cold reaches of Niflheim or in the more calmer areas. I don't remember if it had sort of like the semi-heaven, but there is a gate in Helheim that takes you sort of like to the nice place that
Hmm.
isn't Asgard. But there's also another more chill place. It is not considered heaven, but it's for like the sickly who didn't die with the honor of battle. So they have a
Ah,
place to
okay.
go themselves that isn't just, oh, you're screwed because you can't go there, right?
Right. It's like, well, you can't go to Valheim, but you're not completely screwed.
Exactly. So Valhalla is actually, but it's in Asgard. Point
Yeah.
is, we both want to play Valheim, I guess. It's a good
Yes.
game. Point is, there is actually, Grum has a purpose in Ragnarok, which kind of makes me
Mhm.
think that Grum is similar to Ragnarok, a addition that came from Christianity. Considering how similar he is to Cerberus, right?
Mhm.
It must have that influence to Grum must have been made either. I think Grum is from original Norse mythology, but the Christian interpretation of it gave it a purpose in the end times. Because Grum is in Ragnarok against the battle of the gods,
Mhm.
and it dies in combat against Heimdall, the Watcher.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have this. It's kind of you could call it a reflection of how Odin and Fenris fight, but of course, uh, Heimdall and Grum kill each other, while
Mhm.
of course Odin gets devoured by Fenris, and his son, I think Vidar, avenges his father by breaking the wolf's jaw with a magic shoe.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Hmm. Interesting.
yeah. The thing is,
So.
many people go around saying, "Oh, some people say that Ragnarok is created completely by Christianity," but I do believe a lot of Ragnarok was originally in Norse mythology, but it was just interpreted like many other myths a bit beneficially to the church itself. It is.
Oh,
Still,
absolutely.
yeah, I still think that Grum and Ragnarok and many of those things, while
Mhm.
not as described in the myths as they are now, they did have a purpose in the original, many of the original myths.
Oh, I guarantee it. And see that's actually, well, for Grum,
Mhm.
it's there. There's also an interesting bit of um, and it didn't carry over. Again, this is from my little cursory bit of research, um, there was an old Christian practice where the first soul buried, or you know, well, the you know, soul's not quite the right framing, but you know, the first burial in a in a newly consecrated graveyard was supposed to defend the remaining souls in that graveyard against the devil.
Yeah.
So there was a practice, and it seems to have originated in, you know, Scandinavia, and then was brought over by the Saxons to England, of burying a black dog in a freshly consecrated graveyard.
Yes, because it becomes the guard of the dead. It
Exactly.
protects. It's a protector.
Exactly.
Which can also fit why it became later an omen for when someone of the living would see the grim. It's an omen of something dark is about. You won't. It's not guaranteed you're gonna meet it, but it's close. You should watch
Yes. It's a, you know, a foretelling of something, and it's one of those, because human cultures change and shift. It went from, you know, an omen of warning to an omen of death.
Yeah.
Now, so that's very much kind of like, you know, the Saxon, Scandinavian kind of that influence on kind of what eventually came to the United States.
Mhm.
But it's one of those. So you see, you know, it's like all these traditions are kind of interwoven, and then you get to, oh, there's I can't remember if it was in Scandinavian or English folklore, where they'd also bury a dog under the cornerstone of a new church for the same reason.
Hmm. Still remember that black dogs even now tend to have some cultural significance in England.
Mm-hmm.
There are still some sightings here and there of like these black hounds, foreboding. I don't think they call it a hell hound. It has a different name. I think I'm not sure what it's
Black
called.
Shuck is one of them.
There you go.
Yeah, and Black Shuck is, so there is, I should have done some extra research to get the name of the church. Oh yeah, here we go. So in Bungay or Bungie or however the hell they're going to correct me, you Euro trash you. There was a recording of Black Shuck, who is supposed to represent Satan, rather than the black dog. So there's this interesting blending going on. And it was in Bungay in 1570. We'll just say 1570, because I can't remember the date exactly, but so, you know, Black Shuck apparently, you know, so the devil in the form of a large black dog came in, knocked open the door for a funeral mass of a sinful man, and came up to the coffin and sniffed at the corpse and then left. And there's supposedly, to this day, a burned paw print on the wooden door. And it's just, it's wild, some of these stories in British culture. But Black Shuck was described as being this large, just like the size of a calf. Just huge dog with eyes that were described as burning like coals and as big as a saucer. So it's just one of those, like, where did this come from? And it's like, yes, this is all tied into, I would say, this idea of, you've got, the black dog that would be buried in the churchyard to protect the souls from Satan, and then you've got the inverse of that, which is another black dog of outlandish proportions that is there to claim the souls of the dead.
Yes.
And see, this is where, it's
Kind
like,
of
okay,
dives
this
into
is,
multiple versions of that hound, really. It's
yeah,
both the
yeah.
guardian of the dead, but also sort of like the bringer of dark, ill omens. Or in some cases,
Mhm.
if the man was sinful, it's kind of divine justice in a way.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And to me, that's just one of those, maybe some of what is being seen and experienced is up to the believer's interpretation.
Hmm?
Um, but and again, we haven't even gotten into the American folklore about the hellhounds and the black dogs,
Yeah.
and it's, I'm using all of this interchangeably, but in a lot of ways they're not an interchangeable thing. Yeah, it's you've got various things that look similar, but they're not the same because of how they act. So,
True. So
yeah.
there, you did describe the Shuck, right?
Mm-hmm.
You described him sort of like with massive coal eyes, like coal, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of funny because the description of the Fenrir is that a fire burned within its maw, nose, and eyes as it ran
Mm-hmm.
across the world, devouring all.
Yes. And that, see, again, this is where, and I really like these conversations we have about this, because all these folklores get kind of blended when you talk about them kind of outside of personal experiences. But when you talk to people that have had these experiences, who have seen, these black dogs, it follows into like two very distinct camps. Kind of, the church grim and the hellhound. And it's fascinating, to me at least, because that tells me that there's something going on that is kind of beyond human comprehension. Because it's easy enough to say, oh, well, it's just this big black dog. It's like, oh, okay, then how do you account for stories, and especially in Appalachian folklore, of running into these hellhounds, not black dogs, but hellhounds, firing upon them, and nothing happens. Just nothing happens.
Many cases
Oh.
like that would be blamed upon either fever, lack of sleep, they've ingested something that wasn't there. But again, there is
That's
more between heaven and earth. Let's put it like that.
well, that's the thing I always find interesting is the initially, it's always, oh well, maybe they were drunk.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, but then explain why you would get these hunting parties that would be put together to go look for these black dogs, and they could never catch them. they would shoot at them. They would try to do all of these things, and yet nothing ever came of it, other than the sober men of the community would be absolutely terrified and would never go to some places again. Now, there are stories that I've heard through the years, especially in Appalachia, where it's like, okay, somebody had a still up in one of the hollers, so they didn't, they were spreading these tales to keep nosy people out. Well, that's well and good until you run into some of the stories where somebody operated the still, ran into, one of these black dogs, and then became a reformed man.
Yes.
It's you can't just dismiss this stuff. And that's what I find really fascinating about the black dogs, about the hellhounds, about Black Shuck, is there's some greater purpose to these occurrences than either just keeping someone away, or sometimes maybe covering something up, and they want to make sure nobody ever goes up there again, so I'm gonna fabricate a story. No, it's rarely that.
And there's also, even though you have a lot, even in societies where there's a lot of superstition, there are a lot of people who just call bullshit on that, or if I find it, I can deal with it. So they just ignore it regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Even in superstitious areas, there are people who either through greed, desperation, or sheer balls will seek it out just to seek it out.
There's a lot of the people that I'm going to debunk this, and sometimes, and in a lot of the Appalachian folklore too, specifically, those are the people that become the true believers in them.
Yeah.
And
their effort to disprove
that to me
it,
is
in the effort to disprove it, they have become the most fervent believers.
Exactly, and you see this time and again with, like ghost lore and whatnot. It's just this, oh no, that's bullshit. That doesn't exist. I'm going to make sure that I can make sure everybody knows that this is just a made up lie.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are always the ones that say, well, I thought I was a skeptic before, but now I truly believe that this actually happened.
Yes.
Like, okay, why is that like such a common theme to this day? It's not even just oh well, Billy Bob the Great was a skeptic and then got proven that the black dog was true. It's like, no, it's the people that have the least investment in it being real are the ones that tend to be the ones that talk about it the most. And that's just fascinating to me.
Yes.
So
it's hard to say.
And
it's almost as if something is just making a point at that point.
Yes. So one of my favorite, Appalachian stories actually goes back to, it's like the mid 1700s. So this is when it was still under colonial rule, and I wish I had the exact dates, as it was told as this happened under the reign of King, I can't remember, like Queen Charlotte, I think, something like that. Anyway, so this one specific story, as they refer to them as Cavaliers, and so this is pre-English Civil War occurrences. So that actually put in the 1600s. they talk about, this gap in one of the mountain ranges, and there is this, and they describe it as a black dog the size of a calf with eyes that glow like a red saucer, and it makes its path 100 feet to the north, then turns around and follows that same 100 feet to the south across the road, and no one knows why it's there. And they talk about this group.
Familiar.
It's very familiar. Yeah, that's where I pulled the original quote about the description from. And they talk about this gigantic black dog would follow people. When they came near its path, it would follow them until they left that, kind of around the bend in the road, and it would follow them silently. Not stalking them like it was hunting them, but it would follow them until they were out of sight.
Guardian making sure they're not trying anything, or like something more of a, yeah, you should not be here kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And because it was, part of it, they asked the people that lived in the area, oh, well, is this so and so? Does somebody own this dog? Is this so and so's? And no, it wasn't. And it would not appear all the time. It would only appear certain times. And this is, again, back, flintlocks was the firearm of the day. And it talked about this hunting party of cavaliers, this group of, I think it was like 5 or 6 young men who went on a moonlit night to try to catch the dog. Mm-hmm. And they rode on horseback, but the horses spooked, so they had to come back the next night. And they talk about, they tried to shoot the dog at close range, and the dog did not flinch. It's like it just didn't react whatsoever.
It just stood there and looked at them.
It just kept walking.
Oh.
They fired. It didn't flinch. It didn't stop. It just didn't care. Yeah, it's like, what the hell is going on here? So, you get stories like that, and that's the one I kind of grew up knowing. And but there's in the Jersey Pine Barrens, I'm sure Tony D has a great video on this somewhere about the Pine Barrens, so go watch that. And there's like tales in Delaware, in South Carolina, in West Virginia, and even out in like the Arizona desert. Now, granted, some people start getting into like I'm pausing because I really don't like talking about skinwalkers. Because there's more to it than a lot of the kind of popular folklore has.
I get it. It's there's a reason I haven't been pressing you to talk about him, and if you don't want to cover him too much, just use different language to it.
But you get this. It's not isolated to certain regions. It's kind of wherever American derived English culture comes from, and Scandinavian derived cultures in America
like
as well.
Northwestern thing, really.
Yeah. And well, hell, I mean, you just get all these weird little like cross-cultural references,
Yeah.
whether it be Greek or German, because they've got a Teufelhunde, not to be confused with the Marine Corps, for like, Walpurgis night Nacht.
Yes, that's a German thing.
Yep, and it's like you get it through, and I'm sure there's other parts of the world where they talk about black dogs, but it's just one of those. It's such a cultural phenomenon in kind of Northern European folklore that there's got to be something to it. And because I think I've seen people try to tie black dogs into the Wild Hunt as well.
Yep. That is
Well,
hey, you wanna know something standard in this channel? Time for a Dresden Files reference. Woo! There are actually hellhounds of this description that is in the book series, mentioned several times. Even the Wild Hunt too, when Dresden starts getting very much involved with the fairies and the fae.
hmm
And the Wild Hunt is mentioned once, and heck, you even experience it 2 times as well.
Hmm.
And there are people who meet the Wild Hunt. They essentially get an offer, right? You either join the hunt or you will be hunted.
Hmm.
And people who choose to join, they turn into black hounds, black hunting hounds to be exact.
Uh-huh.
There's also another of the fae, very powerful. She's a close confidant to one of the head fae. You meet
hmm
you meet her in the 3rd book, but then you meet her boss in the 4th. And her whole shtick is making deals, and when the deals are done, it is to join her and become one of her hellhounds or blackhounds.
Interesting.
Mhm. Again, it's just I really love Dresden because how it does kind of what you and me are talking about here. It notices how things are similar in cultural and folklore, and then applies it and manage to merge it so well.
Hmm.
Because Santa Claus is real in Dresden Files, but he ain't just a jolly old man. He has a different side to him too. A very considerable size to him too. Like you don't mess with the Father Christmas.
Are you? It almost sounds like oh, was it Rare Exports?
Rare experts.
The Finnish horror movie.
Uh, I don't think I've seen that actually.
It's oh God. Basically it's like they've opened the gates of hell and have released Santa Claus. It's like
Okay.
it's kind of comedic.
Yeah, I guess it would be.
It yeah, go if you can go watch Rare Exports. I think it's Finnish.
All right.
Pretty sure it's Finnish.
Yeah, Finns can make a lot of interesting shit.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a reason you don't fuck with the Finns, especially a Finn with a knife.
in winter especially.
Oh yeah, or a gun, especially in winter. Actually, don't mess with a Finn in winter or somewhere cold.
True.
Yeah, they just immediately just have the home field advantage wherever there's a teeth full of snow.
I always like the joke. It's like, yeah, well, yeah, the Germans didn't know how to handle the Russian winter. And the response is, so what's worse than the Russian winter? Oh, nothing. It's like, no, it's Finnish winter. It shoots back.
Yeah, that's fucking true. And the best part is, again, I don't know that many Finns, but most of the Finns I know are expert marksmen.
Hmm. Oh yeah,
Few Finns I know are ridiculously good at shooting. And one guy, again, I think I showed you a video years ago of a deer that was running through an open field, but it ran away, right?
hmm
So it's becoming smaller and smaller, and just skipping along the flat acres, but still, it was pretty far away. And this dude, just this guy, one of my colleagues, he just again, and he said muscle memory, just shoots it. What he did was he saw it, he picked up his gun and shot it. And what you see is this deer prancing away, and like I think I'm half a mile away or mile away or something. It's really far. It's just this tiny dot, and
hmm
suddenly its head pops up white and it falls down, bounces
yeah.
away, and then poof.
It's it's definitely impressive to because the only gun culture close to American gun culture that I've encountered with anybody is Finnish gun culture.
Yeah, they decided to not let go of those guns. Of course, you have the city people, but let's be honest, city people don't count as people of a country, in my opinion. I'm very strict with
Correct.
that.
Yeah, yeah. That yeah, no, I think
Where did I miss?
well, but yeah, I think it's just kind of an interesting um how pockets of culture can be related but be completely unrelated.
Yes, it's just like with the dragon in myth. It's the most obvious one, so that's the one he gets.
Hmm.
I reference the most. But dragons appear in almost every single mythology when you consider them, either
Yeah.
as massive serpents or as fire breathers, or this. In Asian mythologies, they tend to be these wise, elegant creatures, but in like European, it is this massive bringer of destruction.
Hmm. But you know, it's one of those. I've always wondered what were the fossils that were found to kind of spur on these myths, because I guarantee there are like incidents where like, oh hey, look at this, we've uncovered this pile of bones and there's this skull
Yeah.
of this gigantic creature with big pointy teeth.
I also hear a rumor that there was a rhino, the skull of a rhino that was found, or a mammoth or something, and there was like, oh shit, this is a dragon. I
I
mean,
believe it.
for middle-aged people, like you see the skull, like basic. Put up the skull of a rhino and the skull of a hippo, and just tell me that doesn't look like some kind of hell beast.
Hmm. Oh yeah, well hell, you get like elephant skulls, and that's where a lot of people wonder, well, is this where the idea of the cyclops came from, or
Yes.
mastodon skulls?
Oh yeah,
So
that makes a lot of sense.
yeah, and this is one of those. I think it gets into, and this is a big deviation from the black dog, but there's this idea that we're smarter now than we used to be. And I was like, no, we're not. It's just a matter of the pool of information we have to start off with.
Yeah. We're not
And
any more advanced than what we used to be back in the Middle Ages.
no,
Okay.
we're not.
Something is. Oh, of course. I'm sorry. I'm trying to find the leak here, but I kind of fail at seeing it. So that's there's something there. This one's good. Okay, so here in the head region,
Yeah.
this is
There's a hole
single
in the head.
pixel that's screwing me up somewhere.
There's
Welcome
a hole
to
in your head, Tram.
always have been. I knew I wasn't schizophrenic. There is a hole. Ah, ha, ha, the single pixel that screwed up everything.
uh,
Oh
yeah.
God, yeah, you get it. You fucking get it.
Yeah.
Oh, pixel hunting,
Oh,
like
that's hilarious, though.
yeah, usually doesn't take this long, but holy crap, this was one. This was one for the history books.
See, this is what happens when you start fucking around with the hellhounds, dude.
Yeah, fucking bad dog. Bad dog.
Mm-hmm.
Jeebus. All right, so turn that one
So,
on.
there's actually there was an interesting I'm trying to find a good way to tell this story without kind of doxing myself a little bit. Um, but there was a interesting story not long ago about someone in my geographic region, like, and I guess for Europeans it'd be like giving your hometown. For me, it's like giving the region away is close enough. Um, but this woman was a nursing student at one of the local universities, and driving home had to go under, basically alongside one of the rivers in this area. And it's a fairly significant river. And talked about and I know exactly where this is. I've actually driven that road and gotten some really odd feelings about this place. But she was driving through, and it's I mean, you go off the road and you're either in the side of a mountain or in the river. It's just a really narrow area. And you have to cross under some railroad bridges. And she described going home from class one night, and it was thick and foggy. And she crossed under one of the bridges and just described having this chill run through her.
Okay.
She didn't know why. Then she came up to the next railroad bridge. And just a little twisty area. And she described through the fog, she saw kind of like this reddish hue through the fog. Which, if you've driven through fog, you know it, how light kind of plays and diffuses.
Right.
And she thought, okay, well, maybe there's a car up ahead. Brake lights. Came through under that second bridge, and on the side of the road was this oversized black dog with bright glowing red eyes. And she panicked and started driving faster, and the dog kept up with her.
So we're having one of those Mothman moments there. They drive
Kind
fast,
of, yeah.
and whatever the hell it is that's following them is managed to keeping up with a fucking car.
Mm-hmm. And because of the way this bit of geography is laid out, she ended up, crossing a small stream, and it stopped following her.
This brings a little bit to a reference to something me and Bleach mentioned before the stream. The Knuckleavy, essentially a fell omen or malicious creature from the Orkney Islands. Essentially a combination of Scottish and Norse mythology, because the people there are mixed descendancy. And at least for as far as I know. And it is a creature of the dark and saltwater seas. And it fears or is compelled away by fresh water. So if you get chased by the Knuckleavy, your safest bet is to find any kind of fresh water, like a small beck, as we call it, like even a tiny stream, not wider than your fist, is enough to deter it. because it
Mhm.
despises fresh water so much. And that is kind of a thing. Like dark or relatively evil things or menacing things in mythologies or like stories, folklore, and things like this, they tend to be deterred by fresh water, running water.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And it's just, and she meant, in the story, and she mentions like the next day there was a car accident in that same stretch of road. So, it's just one of those. You say, okay, is this her mind reinterpreting like a deer that's panicked and has run alongside of her,
But
or is
deers
there
usually
something
don't.
else?
Deers usually don't run beside a car when they're panicked, even if the
They,
roads
they
are.
they they we have so many of the damn things that, um, it's like it's not uncommon. I've had deer kind of like running beside me, but I'm only doing like 20 miles an hour.
Yeah,
So,
like panic deer running beside the things that scares them.
mhm.
Oh,
Just because it's like they're trying to cross the road to the rest of the herd,
ah,
and they panicked and they're like trying to keep up, trying to keep up, trying to keep up, and then, yeah, go on.
mm, fair
Or
enough.
they run into you and, you know, um,
Right, right. Okay, that kind. I thought it was like, oh, you scared the deer, and yet the deer kept up with you. Like,
for a brief moment, but yes. But
yes,
I can see where, maybe somebody's misinterpreting that.
yeah.
But to
I
have that
I
kind
certainly
of
did because
glow,
we do have enough room for these fuckers to get off wherever they need to.
hmm,
Stupid things.
yeah, yeah.
Tasty
Uh,
though.
so, okay, just to jump back to that older story that I was telling.
Hmm.
So that took place in Botetourt County, and it's spelled really dumbly because it's British, but Boteetourt, and that was in 1683.
I refuse to have
That's
any Brits talk smack about the words I have anymore.
yeah, exactly.
Holy crap. You got
And
Brits, you have no more legs to stand on.
it looks like it should be pronounced Bot-e-trout.
Can you write it down for me? I'm gonna try to see, and I'm gonna use Norlish for this because screw you guys. What the
Named
trot?
after Lord Botetourt.
Oh my god! Oh Lord was named that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
He was
god!
royal governor of Virginia at one point.
Huh?
Yep.
Okay, so he managed to succeed despite having the name against him. I'm sorry.
Well,
That's the first reaction I have. If I heard someone called Bottertrot, it was like, oh, he's my governor. I was like, what the fuck?
mm-hmm. Yep. So yeah, he was. So I think he was only like a baron in English peerage, but
Still pretty high
um,
though.
yeah, but in the United States, it was Lord Botetourt because he was royal governor. So
Yes.
we always refer to him as Lord Botetourt here. Yeah, actually, I think that's the governor's palace um in Colonial Williamsburg is rebuilt to look like the one that he had built,
Mm.
which it's actually a really cool recreation.
You can send that one to Basic too, so you can display it on the screen here for the viewers.
Yep. And I will say, Colonial Williamsburg, if you're in Virginia, is really kind of a cool place to go. But you have to remember, none of this is original. This is just reconstructions of the original things.
Yeah. That
Um,
is, I like that. It looks cool.
mhm.
Color ain't quite my thing, but then again, how could you? Not much reason to paint the brick. Exactly.
No, no. Although, interestingly enough, and there is some folklore related to a place called Bacon's Castle.
Bacon's Castle.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a
So
castle
it's
worthy of my
actually
attention.
has not. Its actual name is was it Sir Allen's or Arthur Allen's brick house, and it is, I think, the oldest brick built and the oldest still existing brick built home in Virginia colony.
Really?
Yes. And it is a absolute monster of a home. It's really cool. So we had a thing called Bacon's Rebellion. Yes, this is a massive side story. Bacon's Rebellion, led by a man named Nathaniel Bacon in 1676. So there's our tie-in with the Botetourt folklore about the black dog. And basically, it was the royal governor was stopping retaliation raids by the Virginia colonists against some of the tribes. And
Was
the
there any
rebellion
particular reason
failed.
for it?
And what's that?
Was there any particular reason? I'm sorry for genuinely just
No.
just
I mean,
curious.
it's an obscure bit of American and Virginia history. So I wait, which was it? Was it the Potomac tribe? I can never remember which tribe it is. It just I'm saying this off the top of my head, so you'll have to forgive me.
That's all right.
But they started raiding some of the farms, and like during the tobacco boom.
Right.
So there were raids and retaliation raids, and the governor at the time, and I think that was Berkeley. I think that was William Berkeley. So yeah, it was like no, we're not going to use government assets to put down, to deal with these raids.
Mm-hmm.
And so Nathaniel Bacon, a rabble rouser of sorts, I can't, I he's one of those characters in our history where I don't remember a ton. I think he's originally from Suffolk, fairly well-to-do, kind of middle-class family. But because he wasn't the eldest son, he wasn't going to get the property. So he decided to come to the colony so he could own land.
Yeah. Start his own shit with the blackjack and hookers.
Exactly. So that's how Bacon's Rebellion got started. And they ended up crossing the James River after trying to seize Jamestown. And so that was a failed part of the revolt. Powhatan Indians. Now that's who I'm thinking of. And there's like the Doeg was a subgroup. See, eventually I'm remembering all this.
I mean, we do cross a lot with the engines, so.
Yes, we do. So yeah, Bacon held his rebellion, tried to oust Governor Berkeley. That failed. So he fled across the James River to hold up in what became Bacon's Castle, which was Arthur Allen's brick house.
Yeah.
And I'm fascinated because about Bacon's Castle because it's just a badass piece of early colonial architecture.
I mean, I understand why it's called a castle, but calling it a fortress would be fitting too, because you wouldn't need a lot to make that shit function as one.
Correct, and you also have to remember, like, big homesteads in colonial Virginia and the rest of the colonies. If you had like a well-built home where you couldn't just go from the ground level into the home, you had to go either through a doorway or climb up the windows, was considered a fort or a castle at that time to defend against Indian raids.
Yeah.
So, kind of a cool little bit of side history, but there is a black dog sighting that was associated with Bacon's rebellion at some point.
Really?
Yeah. It was like, because the rebels they fled, and a lot of them went to Bacon's Castle, but some of them had fled up to was it Henrico County? I think some of them fled, and supposedly before Bacon was executed, they saw a black dog. And granted, I think he got a stay of execution and actually like died of dysentery somewhere, but they did execute some of the other leaders.
Yeah.
And there's something about a black dog being there. And then to this day, there is a bit of folklore of basically it's ball lightning that forms and crosses on like certain nights where I guess the rebellion was supposed to end. Like this ball of fire is supposed to go past Bacon's Castle, and a howling of a dog I think is thrown in there somewhere, but that might just be a modern invention that I've heard.
Definitely sets the mood, let's be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just one of the, but that all ties back because remember, Bacon was from Suffolk, and we were talking about Black Shuck and the Bungay incident, and I think that was supposed to be in Suffolk too, but I'm not 100% sure. So, again, it's just like these little threads sometimes get out there in the weeds and say,
Yes.
I wonder.
Why is it like this? Is it coincidence or is there something more?
Yeah. And that's kind of why I like going down some of these rabbit holes and being able to recount not just the lore but some of the history associated with these things too. Is are some of the myths and lores remnants, or are they something brand new? It's hard to say.
It is. It could also be like inspired interpretations too. Like not. Again, I think there's a kernel of truth in it. Again, I firmly believe there's more between the heaven and the earth. That is an expression from Norway. Mere mellom himmel og jord. It just means that you never truly know what lies beyond what you can see.
Correct.
And there's a lot of truth in that because we don't truly know what lies beyond the dark. We don't know what is beyond what we see. And there's too many of these folklore things that has so much added meaning to it that it is hard to just dismiss it as, oh, it's just hallucination, bro. Oh, it's just superstition. Like, yeah, but how did it become superstition? What gave form to this particular event, this myth, this beast, this thing that just stalks the night, or this
Mm-hmm.
entity that suddenly has this meaning for this particular thing?
And that's what I just get so fascinated by it, and also very frustrated by people who just want to go, oh no, that's just, yeah, that's just made up, that's just myth and legends.
Yep. That
Where did
there,
it
that
come
was
from?
just a
What did it?
that there, yeah, that there was just a drunk and nothing else. Okay, then fine. But what about the other 15 guys with the same hallucination? Coincidence?
Right, yeah. It's like, okay, well, explain why, this thing has been seen through multiple generations. Oh, well, it's just mass hysteria. For people that are, disconnected by generations, who've never met a grandparent or what have you that would have experienced this, really?
Yeah. I've one thing I've heard, which makes a bit of sense, but seems like a stretch, is they've all heard the same story at some point in life, so it ended up being what their brain interpreted. I
Right.
mean, I can
I
see
I
it,
can
but
understand kind of like a cultural folklore because we all have them. But this is where I always draw the line and say, okay, if you have someone who experiences this thing, say, one of the Hell Hounds,
Mhm.
and then they go researching it to figure out what the hell they just saw, does that mean that they're having some cultural artifact that they've never heard of suddenly implanted in them to validify or not validate? Sorry,
That's right.
I'm having one of those days. Thanks, headache. Um, and yeah, yes, Bezic, I have been doing all of this through a migraine. So there you go. Um, but yeah, it's like, so you're validating an experience by looking at folklore that you've never heard of. How does that make sense?
Yeah, does everyone share the same derangement? Is everyone just
Mm-hmm.
the same kind of crazy?
Yeah,
Is there something more to it?
and you know what? So there, I suddenly remembered there was another variation of that story about the black dog
Mm.
that I touched on earlier in the Botetourt County one. There is a variation of that story where a body was found years later, long long dis- long desiccated,
Hmm.
and there was like a man and his dog that had gone missing like 20 years prior,
Okay.
and they speculated that that was the dog, you know keeping watch over his master's grave, even though the dog has been long dead. So
Yeah.
there's another, kind of like that goes back to the church grim, widely varying. Brain why today? Wide
I
variations on a similar theme with very different interpretations too.
Yeah, one is definitely more wholesome and sweet than a being of darkness just coming for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just I don't know. I just find it a very fascinating um topic. Not just because we can go down all these different paths, but the fact that it's still culturally relevant today because people still are seeing these things.
Yes.
And let's be honest, hell,
Hell Hound.
the Bête de Gévaudan, the big French myth, which probably was a uh, probably prepubescent, was it subadult male lion, is one of the rumors, but well, not one of the rumors, one of the speculations as to like why it was so.
Oh, it's that. What was it that? I know it. They had a movie based off it. That me and
Brotherhood of
Christoph.
the Wolf
There you go.
is loosely based off of La Bête Gévaudan.
Yep. See, I'm trying to
Or
figure out
as
which
apparently
one.
I'm supposed to use the pronunciation for American is the Beast of Javon. And it's like, I can pronounce French shit. Go fuck yourself, but you know.
All right. What do you think about this so far?
Ooh, I like.
What?
You're really doing good with the eye detail too.
Yeah, I do like eyes. See, I kind of
Yeah.
wanted when it's dark, and yet is the hope here is to make the glow just right.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm gonna add a little bit of red here and there. Hopefully that'll work out. So I do this, and then I make another one. Clear. Let's do normal first.
But I don't want normal.
You'll get normal and you'll like it.
But it's Trim's Art Shack. I don't want normal.
Okay, fair enough. Let's see what kind of messed up shit I can do. Add a little bit too, because fuck it. So.
I like.
Because this was meant to be a glow, right? That's a description of it, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's not just like the eyes are red. It's like red glowing embers the size of a sauce pan or something like that, or saucer. So I guess, yeah, typical saucers are about 5 inches in diameter or something like that.
Yeah. I didn't give it the massive head or that ridiculously oversized eye would require, but I do think I know it's that uncanniness of it, because I think I know what it is referring to.
Yeah, and
it kind of has
also
eyes, sort of like how the eyes would be in the oh come on, the Mothman we did a while ago. Those were freaky.
I mean, I gotta say the whole like glowing eyes thing is kind of a fascinating theme with a lot of stuff. Yeah, and it's like it is some of that like early interpretation of eye shine that just kind of like gets culturally embedded, or are these things that people are running into actually doing some internal illumination?
Yes. That's why I do like the eye shine myself as well. Now, if I do this, I can show there.
And then like turn it to a hard light when it's lower opacity.
I can try that.
Ooh.
There we go.
I like. Yeah.
There we go. Let's try 30 there. It's kind of a bit more of a lazy glow, but that's kind of what a cold does. Yeah. Yeah.
I like it.
It's kind of like this.
Yes. Much like that.
Oh yeah. Also, since it's hound-like. So, as you can see, the dew claws of the dogs has these like hand shape. The way it is on tiptoe, it's kind of made to. It's there, but it's not there, right? It's wrong in a way. That's kind of why I like these darker cryptids too. There is something there, but it is just not quite as right as it should be.
Well, that's always one of those things where they talk about like doppelgangers or doppelganger.
Doppelganger.
Yeah, there's a reason why I said it that way. There's a Mystery Science Theater deep lore cut there for Doppelganger. Um,
Doppelganger. Say it like that.
no, 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 no,
Doppelganger.
no, 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 no.
You can do it.
Trim, I'm going to have to show you a Mystery Science Theater clip at some point. Then,
Do I want to?
yes, because it's maybe one of the greatest shows of the '90s.
Okay.
Uh, yeah. And anyway, so yeah, there's always like when there's this thing in like a common form, like the form of something that you should be used to seeing.
Alright.
It's always like twisted, incorrect. There's something wrong with it.
Mm-hmm.
So with the kind of like the doppelganger concept, it's where it looks exactly say it looks exactly like Trim,
Mm-hmm.
but there's something wrong with it. There's something not quite Trim like he's
Yes.
polite, or his beard's black instead of ginger or something like that.
I like to think of polite,
That-
but okay, fine.
That's the thing. It's like you have that instant recognition, and it's like, wait a minute, there's something
The
wrong.
uncanny valley just opens itself in front of you, right?
Yes,
It is-
and
This is close, but not there, and
Mhm.
that kind of scary, isn't it?
yes, and that's why it's like with the Hell Hounds, they're always like oversized. Why they have the glowing red eye? Why they've got that. It's familiar enough so your guard is almost dropped, but there's something just so perverse about it
Yes.
that it's like it's just unsettling. It's disturbing,
Mm-hmm.
and I like that about because we've had the discussion about what I think is like the height of horror is when you never see the thing in its full, true, diabolical form. It's like you see a passing shadow. You hear it, and it's the unseen horror of things that is like right there and screwing with you. And that's why, like the black dogs, there is something about them that is very familiar, but it's also so disturbing because it's not right.
Exactly. There's a certain fundament of nature that is just being ignored or crossed or downright just perverted.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the best monsters. Even the best ones are you don't see the real one, rather you see a piece of it, and that's more than enough. Like Eldritch or Lovecraftian horror tends to do that, as the people
Mhm.
who see it. Like, it is not the realization, or it's not the visage itself. You know how people go mad when they see something Eldritch, right?
Yeah.
You don't get mad from just seeing it. What drives you mad in Eldritch with seeing an Eldritch abomination, when you truly go mad, is that when you see it and your brain for a split second comprehends what it sees. You see the whole thing. For a split moment, your mind actually is forced open to see what truly is in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just stops. Imagine you're an ant, right? And you look up and you see a human.
Mm-hmm.
You can never see the whole human. Your eyes won't reach that far. Your other senses won't reach that far. But you will most certainly see pieces of it. But imagine if an ant suddenly had the comprehension of seeing and understanding what a human is.
Oh yeah.
And then that was just snuffed away. Just memories. Memories of the comprehension. It's still there. You still know it's like that is this, but you can't form the words. You can't say the right language. It's like you have the absolute grasp of what a British human of that age is, and suddenly you're back to who you were. Just an ant again. The crushing realization that you're so small and insignificant towards what's in front of you. And the cosmic horror there is essentially that, but we're the ants.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yeah, and it's like it's the my reality has been shattered
Yes.
moment, and that's amazing.
And that's honestly one of the scariest things because our livelihoods, and that's why also in stories where your daily life is forever changed, you feel the most for that because again, we are creatures of habit and routine. It is
Mm-hmm.
core. We have a routine, we have a habit. Even people who say that, oh, I don't have a routine or habit, they're lying or they don't understand themselves that much because everyone does have a routine. Everyone does have a habit.
Yep. Yep.
And it's just when that is broken, it kind of changes something. If you manage to break it yourself, it is far more controlled, right? But if it's
Mm-hmm.
broken without your intention or consent, that's when it starts getting messy. That's when it starts getting scary, painful.
Yes. And that's the thing. It's like so many people. I think when they encounter the supernatural, they just want to deny it.
Yeah. Or this,
And
I think it's something similar to how because Lovecraft had a good idea of that horror, right?
Mhm.
It is that moment you see it, you comprehend it, and then you don't see it, and you either through subconscious will of not wanting to understand it, you just okay, that was not that, that was totally not that. I did not see this. I am here. I am this. The world is this tiny bubble I live in, and nothing else.
Mm-hmm. That's like, yeah, it's just it's this almost like human psychology. It's like we are so limited, but we're so damn smug
Yeah.
that we think we should know everything. And it's like, but you're a fool. You don't understand X, Y, and Z.
Yep. Even our own machinations can never truly be understood by what we are. We can understand enough to use it, but never really understand the world in a way that matters.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now if I add this, just a small one here.
Mm. Your backgrounds are becoming much quicker these days.
Thank you.
I've noticed that with a lot of your works.
Thank you. Hopefully the quality doesn't drop.
Not so far, but I could make a complaint if you want.
Go on.
All right. What do you want me to complain about? I got to figure it out.
Oh. I thought you actually had something.
No, I don't. But it's like, well, I could come up with something if it'd make you feel better about it.
A smart ass.
Yeah.
Okay, that became a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. Now, should I try... Fuck it, let's try Be Fancy.
How dare you?
Oh, I dare. Ooh, I dare. I dear. Ha ha ha. Again, deer, stupid animals, but God, they're tasty.
Yes. Although I prefer elk myself.
I understand. Oh,
Elk, and it's been a long time since I've had moose. I would love to have moose.
dude, like moose steak with some proper brown sauce,
Uh-huh.
boiled potatoes, and stew made of green peas.
Keep the green beans and shove them, but
No. Peas. You
of
make a
those two.
stew out of peas. It sounds...
I
Oh, dude.
I can't eat green beans and I can't eat green peas.
Gas.
No, I just don't like the texture.
Me neither. But if you make a good stew out of them, it is not meant to be it's not... It's a food in itself. It's a complementary thing. Sort of like a puree, but a bit chunkier. Better.
I will leave that one alone because yeah. Now, I do like occasional lentil soup, but I don't consider that the same thing as pea soup.
That's fair. Oh, lentils are just nice. Ever tried borscht? Broth?
Yes.
Borscht?
Borscht?
Borscht. There you go. Borscht.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, goulash is up there on my my favorite things to have that are in a soup-like form.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's not really a soup, but I'm saying soup-like.
Yep. You can get a good stew. So, I guess we're nearing the end of the conversation. What do you think of the results so far?
I like it.
Yeah, should I darken the dog? Should I brighten that?
I,
Maybe not
I would
brighten.
actually lighten the background a hair.
Lighten the background hair.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it was 50. Let's see.
I'm just thinking in terms of try like go up to 60.
All right, let's have to do this then, so we can see the more picture clearly. 60.
Keep going. Yeah, I like that. Maybe darken the dog just a hair too.
Yeah, so 75. Doot. And then.
Yeah, right about there. That way he's kind of like standing out just a little bit more. The shadows are darker.
So
The trees are brighter.
51 or 50. Okay, this is 60. Like, this is max dark.
Okay.
And, this is.
Right. Just go back just like 56, 60 somewhere in there.
61.
Right about there. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's pretty good. Oh, that is pretty good.
Yes, yeah. It's something like this. I like to have. Just for me, mentally and visually, it's like the dog is darker than the surroundings.
Yeah, though I made the shadows a lot darker because the shadows come from the dog itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm talking like the trees in the background and whatnot.
Yeah.
Having him stand out from those just a little bit more, a little bit darker, a little bit more forceful.
Yeah.
I think is a good thing.
So yeah, this is pretty much my interpretation of a hellhound from
Yes.
a variety of different myths. We chose the Irish wolfhound because, well, you had a good one for that. Good explanation for that.
Well, I like because people want to make them more like wolf-like now, and I don't think that's what they were ever really interpreted, because it's not like the hell wolf or the black wolf. No, it's always the hellhound, the black dog. That it's usually described as kind of hound-ish, just of a larger scale. So,
and honestly, the best thing to imagine when thinking of the hound is, of course, the Irish wolfhound, the dog that kills wolves.
Exactly. And I was just thinking, because there's because they're modern like hellhound stories that pop up. I mean, there's like the Hellhound of Mons in the First World War, but then you contrast that with where on the Eastern Front the Germans and the Russians were just killing packs of wolves on regular bases. So it's like there's these things. It's not just like they're in kind of the primitive mind of the past, as people stupidly call it. It's more, there are always reinventions of these tropes and themes in the human mind. What's more terrifying than an oversized dog with glowing red eyes feasting on a carcass of another human? That would probably make most people shit themselves.
It is also scary because dogs are, well, man's best friend. They're the animal that has been with us through thick and thin.
Mm-hmm.
And even the people who don't like dogs will have to admit that, like, there are a lot of people who hate dogs who, after getting close to a dog, suddenly they love them again. So, we're just,
Yep.
as dogs are predisposed to liking us, we're predisposed to liking them.
Well, it's kind of a mutually beneficial thing. Kind of like with people and cats. If you don't like cats, I don't trust you. Just,
Yeah.
yeah, cats and dogs. Everybody's got their own taste, but if you deny that animal because they're a service animal, not necessarily just for the blind, but it's like cats control pests, dogs are alert their owners to threats, stuff like that.
They become
And
part of the family, It's
yes,
funny how we manage to just make them part of us. They are part of the human society.
mm-hmm.
Of course,
And
we've went from defenders to sometimes just accessories, but they always there and they always matter, at least to like proper people who aren't messed up in the head.
mm-hmm. Yep.
Then
And
to
yeah, it's like
to see like that image of man's best friend just it
being the
even
terror again that a
yeah,
wolf is considered, but it's still a dog, not a wolf.
exactly. And like that's why many people are, when you say rabid dogs, it is considered a insult more than calling you just a wild animal, because a rabid dog, it's something friendly that became monstrous. And that is why I always liked the insult being called just a dog or a rabid dog, because
Mm-hmm.
again, a dog is something good, not something that's scary,
Yep.
unless you're like really 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 short.
Well, yeah, I mean, Disco would probably be riding a Irish wolfhound into battle.
That'd be actually really fucking cool.
Hey, maybe we should, just take her avatar and slap it on the top of that.
Hey Bessic, if you want to do some editing, feel free. Oh, hey, I'm Disco. And suddenly she became Canadian for some reason.
She'll
Sorry,
get the
Disco.
steppy stool and punch you, but hey, I've got an ocean between her and I.
There's a small canal. I'm sure she can't swim. I hope. Fortunately, she's too busy being a mom to care about petty things as vengeance.
You say that now.
Let me dream.
Okay, fine.
Ah,
Yeah, oh, there's I meant to bring this up earlier. It's like the Bargeist, or which is like another name for the black dogs, and this is like more.
Sorry, I want to add a little bit more dark on the ground here. Just a little.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I can't. It's more like a Fey version where it's like it typically is like a big black dog, but not always.
Maybe that's where Dresden Files got its inspiration from.
I bet. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked, but I mean, like black dogs are just, they're all throughout civilized history. Whether it's Cerberus or
If it's not
Grum.
black,
Grum.
if it's not black, it is malformed in a way. So like
Mhm.
Grum, I think, is in most depictions that has Grum, he is a black dog, but he's also
But
monstrously massive.
I'm also guessing he's more of a dog than
Yes.
a wolf, because that
Yeah.
way there's a distinction between him and Finless.
Exactly. And again, this hound was nothing to scoff at either. Sure, it wasn't Fenris, but let's put it like this: you would still be afraid of a heavyweight boxing champion, even though you don't have to go against Mike Tyson.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically
Yeah.
what it is.
It's only Muhammad Ali.
Yeah. It's not Mike Tyson. It's just Muhammad Ali. And now you have to imagine Heimdall, a dude who's missing one hand because he had the balls to sacrifice it in a trick to the Fenris Wolf. He sees that thing in the middle of a massive battlefield surrounded by God knows what kind of monsters and freaks. And he's like, yeah, I'll take that on.
You know, I'm just going through some. I did a quick look for other names for black dogs, because you've got, Black Shuck, obviously, the Muridu on Isle of Man, and it's just like they're all over the place.
Yep.
But the funniest one by far is called Shug Monkey.
Shug Monkey.
This is even funnier. In the folklore of Cambridgeshire, the Shug Monkey is a creature that shares the features of a dog and monkey, which reportedly started at the haunted Slow Hill. The creature is believed to have been a jet black, shaggy sheepdog with the face of a monkey with staring eyes. It was believed to be a supernatural ghost or demon. Local writer and broadcaster James Day, who first related the story of the Shug Monkey in Here Are Ghosts and Witches in 1954.
So I can only
and interestingly,
I can only guess if our friend-based ape has been wearing dog costumes then.
Uh-huh. I mean, I'm just going to start calling him Shug Monkey next time I talk to him.
Hey, Shug Monkey, if you like the video,
like and subscribe.
For once, Bessic isn't getting any shade, so that's nice.
Yet.
Well, that's up for you. He's my editor. I can't be too rude, I guess.
True. Yeah, no, I think it's actually that's one place in the Anglosphere I have not seen black dog lore. It is Australia or New Zealand, for that matter.
Hey, Bessic, if you have one, just drop a reference in the video if you feel like it.
Yeah, because I'd be curious if this lore exists there, and I just haven't run across it, because I focus more on obviously American folklore and some tying into the European folklore too, but I wouldn't be shocked if there was something similar.
It would be fun for anyone else watching this video if you have like if we haven't mentioned anything, or if there's an alternative version of it, just write it down in the comment section. We'll see what kind of dark hounds you have. Is it literally a Hell Hound? Is it something else? Does it have a different purpose, or is it like an omen? Because
it would be really cool to get kind of a running poll over time to see if there's variations in names, and whether it's a fetch, or omen, or something more vile. Maybe? Yeah.
There are so many. Like, if there's one thing I like, it's omen creatures. When I was a kid, they terrified the ever-living hell out of me, because when I was younger, I believed this was real, of course, right? However, every time I spoke of them, I was afraid of speaking of them like properly, because I was afraid it would invoke them and catch your attention.
Yes, which is part of the reason why I don't like talking about the certain Navajo piece of lore.
Yeah, because some lore actually has it where if you speak about them, they do notice you. And again, while I was a kid, I was convinced that the version we were speaking about was absolutely real. As I grow older, again, just like my view of certain religions, it's our interpretation of the best thing we can see, our best interpretation of what we can see. Basically.
Yep.
You know what the
It's,
scary? You know what would be the funniest thing if I just look out the window and there's a big black dog with red eyes staring at me.
I mean, I'm sure I'd hear about it the next day. I don't want to, but
No,
I
no,
know
no.
I'd hear it.
Yeah, the thing that would annoy me if that happened is like, oh, I draw something inspired by an Irish Wolfhound, and it turned out it was a Shih Tzu. It's the
Or
title of
worse.
barking thing.
It's just like shaking, barking at you. It's like, this is the Hellhound.
All right. Try to kick it away, but then suddenly it just like grows massive. Yo.
Mm-hmm. Like a gigantic chihuahua.
Oh, God. I don't think the world would be capable of handling massive chihuahuas. Not with that aggression level, dude. I think hippos are more relaxed than a chihuahua.
I can't disagree.
Mm. We all know that chihuahuas would have killed us all if they actually were big enough to do it. The difference between them and
Yeah.
hippos is that hippos actually are big enough to do it.
Oof. They would sure as hell try. It's kind of like, if cats were big enough, they'd start killing their owners.
Yeah, just look at tigers, dude.
Yeah.
The behavior of cats and tigers are identical. They even meow and purr. It's just that their vocal cords are so big it sounds like a chainsaw.
I've always wondered if I had a gigantic cat like my cat, how long would I survive?
I would survive for as long as the cat would be entertained by my bullshit, and then it would just kill me.
So 30 seconds tops.
Depends if I screamed funnily enough for it. If I managed to get killed off without making a sound, then yeah, I guess it would just be 30 seconds. If not, it would be a very long week.
That in a roundabout way, that reminds me of because you've got the big cats of England, and then in the 1950s, is like 1954, you had in Bladensboro, North Carolina, this gigantic cat that went around killing dogs.
Oh. So,
And
wait, what? Basic's cat before he found it?
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I've seen
But
it.
yeah, but oddly enough, it ties back into the dog here, the black dogs. It's like they're always portrayed as these black beasts going around. It's kind of fascinating, isn't it?
It is. And kind of terrifying too, because again, omen creatures. What does it mean? Why is it there? What is its purpose? It's the question that's the scary part.
Sad, isn't it? Not sad, but it's like kind of disturbing in a lot of ways.
Yes. But it's kind of the fun too, like kind of like a black hole, like when in different parts of what is the science of studying astrology? Is it astronomy or astrology?
What are you getting at again, please?
The study of like the nature of extrasolar things, like black holes,
That's
planets.
astronomy.
Yeah,
Astrology is, hey man, the sun is rising in Venus, and I feel like I'm going to be
Okay.
cheesecake today.
You. Yeah, basically, it's the study. When I first learned of black holes, that filled me with the same kind of dread as when I started figuring out about omen creatures.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. In the beginning, it's fucking terrifying, sure, but it's that kind of fear that still draws you in. It's the fear that makes you want to know more. Not the fear that makes you want to run the fuck away. It's a fear that demands you to understand it, because what else is there to do?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I saw another picture. I saw an image once. I don't know who the artist is. I found on Twitter. You know Galactus from Marvel, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Someone had drawn a picture of Earth as this tiny pearl, and behind it you have only the face and the shoulders of Galactus just peeking out from the cosmos, mouth open and just not far away from the Earth. And that kind of shit, that kind of stuff terrifies me as a kid, or the concept of it terrifies me. But I also love it. The same reason why I just love like Eldritch lore and stuff like that too. It is, if you do it right, it can be so fucking good.
Yes, it can. And you know, it's funny. I think that kind of like that subtlety has been lost.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there,
it's
and
maybe
you know,
not
we always
lost.
find it, but it's like pop culture wise, it's just kind of like
I think it's more that
being
it's the
drummed down.
people who know it and understand it are not allowed to practice it, you know? Sort of like how
Mm-hmm.
certain companies said that, oh, a fan is a red flag.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that kind of personality that strangles the creativity and the ability to just enjoy something.
Yep.
And it's like, but there's so many games, so many movies, so many series. Oh, there was, I saw one a few days. Yeah. Uh, hey, an example of why fans, like actual fans of something, should be the ones to work on the creation of something. Black Mesa, which is a fan remake of Half-Life 1, and it is fantastic. It's just built
Hmm.
and made with just passion. It is dirt cheap on Steam too, and it is like, I haven't played it, but I had a friend who played through it while I was watching, and oh my god, just made by people who just have nothing but love for what they make, instead of just
Hmm.
corporate soulless crap. And yes, I'm using that unironically. Uh, they just put their heart, soul, and just so much love into it. Like, even adding extra tiny things, and despite some flaws there is in the game, because it's not the perfect game ever, but it's really good, well made, and it's made with so much love that it's just dripping from it, almost like a physical thing.
Hmm.
hmm
Hmm.
And that's kind of like that. That's the thing that we're missing today: the love for what you make. Because many people say, "I love this, I do this." No, you don't love the thing you're making. You love the fact that you have your hands on it. You love
Yes.
yourself touching that. And that also, I mean, in the most degenerate way possible. Filth. And you see what has happened, right? Franchises that were so big that couldn't possibly fail. And in the last 10 years, almost every single one of the largest franchises, IPs, sagas, and lore of it all has just collapsed because the people who have taken over doesn't even care, or in the worst case, actively hate what was before them because they know they cannot create something as good. So in that case, they will destroy what is.
I think it's even more than that. There's a lot of people that just they don't desire to create something of their own. They don't want to pour something of themselves. They just want to get kind of a cheap enjoyment out of it.
Yeah, it could be that too, but I think it just goes deeper there. It's this jealousy that drives them, and when they get their hands on it, it is, oh, they made this. No, I made this. This is mine now. Like how Martin in Warhammer. I'm gonna use that reference instead because it's easier. How Marnius Calgar, one of the greatest in lore at least, is kind of a Marisu in some cases, but
Mm-hmm.
turns out he isn't really Marnius Calgar, one of the greatest things in sliced bread. No, turns out his name is actually Tacticus because someone made a comic of it. Didn't really understand Warhammer at all.
Hmm.
And no, this character isn't actually Marnius Calgar. He's Tacticus, and he took the name of Marnius Calgar.
Hmm.
Shit like that. And you should get shit like that everywhere. Even Miles Morales, who was just made as a character, and
Hmm.
now he's being made to replace Spider-Man. Because that's what
Oh,
they
of
can.
course.
That's the only thing they can do. They need to replace it with something they created or something they identify with. But ultimately, it is just a unintentional parody that is in no way able to even replace a fraction of what came before.
Hmm.
And we got here from talking about Black Hounds and how stories develop over time. Whoopsie daisy.
Yes, that's the fun part about our discussions. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like we can kind of tie a lot of like the folklore trends and whatnot into something that has a broader context.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Well, it's again always. I'm having a real good time doing these videos with you, dude. I'm looking forward to the next one already.
good, good.
Yeah. So
I'll
that
have to figure out some other interesting or obscure lore to go with, or maybe something that's less nebulous.
maybe I'd be down. You always bring me something interesting to draw anyway. Like I still think we should go back to Salem one day, but not quite yet.
No, I think a little more time needs to pass for
Yeah,
that one.
because at least I managed to do pretty well that stream, but I still want to give it another whirl. Especially, I just need to develop a little bit more. I want to see what I can truly get out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Still one of my favorite fucking sketches.
Dude, it still kind of weirds my friend out to this day when she goes back and she's like, so this thing. Yeah.
Oh, kind of also why I'm a bit proud. I'm sorry if she gets a bit weirded out, but I'm kind of
No,
proud of
no,
that.
it's not bad. It's just like we have this conversation where, man, this is just not something that we ever experienced.
Yeah. So yeah, this I have done a stream with it on my channel much earlier, but I'm just gonna hint it a bit because I enjoyed it. We're gonna make it dedicated Simply Sketchy to something Bleach himself experienced, and you can retell the story about it. And what did you call it?
With the Salem thing.
Yep. So it's not gonna be anytime soon, but we're gonna do it again. At least I think within this year. Depends on how comfortable you are with it.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, it's an eventuality. But yeah, so we get to the closing part here. So I would like to thank you very much, Bleach, for joining me. Is there any way people can reach you? Anything you're working on?
Well, you can find me on my YouTube channel. Just Bleach Demon. Occasionally, you could find me on the Twitter at the Bleach Demon. And my Rumble channel as well. And that's yeah. And occasionally, I am lurking in the Sultan's server. But yeah.
Yeah, and most Saturdays you'll even be able to see him or hear him during the Sultaness of Shadowley streams every Saturday.
Exactly. As the angry American guy.
Yes, along with the angry Australian, angry other American, and angry Norwegian, and sometimes angry Scottish lady.
And her co-host.
Yeah, I'm starting to see a theme in this. Well, yeah, so also to extend a thank you to my dear friend Robert Renato, who has allowed me to use his music for these videos. Again, really good work. Just go to his channel and give a listen because he's really good at ambient and like these, especially now that he's gone into a more of a eldritch kind of mood. He really works with it. Which is kind of
Nice.
funny because the dude himself is obsessed with like cute and adorable fluffy things, but he makes music that is like dark and foreboding. You know that meme, right? Of you have that happy smiling dog beside that statue of the werewolf.
Mm-hmm.
The dog is Robert, happy puppy, and then you have the music, which is like his world. Ugh. And of course, a big thank you to Bezek. Also, I think friend something hostage taker. I don't know the details of that. Who
It doesn't
first?
matter. Just throw him a Pepsi Zero, and he'll be content for as long
Yeah,
as the cat lets him live.
exactly. And for some reason, for some unknown ability, I managed to corral him into doing edits for this video and making sure that my technology doesn't rebel against me and destroy me, which happens more frequently than you'd fucking think. Seriously, it is a fucking debuff at this point. I know I harp on it, but damn it, it never ends. And then, yeah, so thank you to Bessic as well. And of course, if you like what you see, if you would like to either take some of the stuff I have and buy merch of it, or if you would like to hire me to draw a commission for yourself, I can do black and white colors. If you want something involving furries, that'll cost you extra. You'll find the links down in the description down below. So again, Bleach, thank you very much for joining me. I had a lot of fun. And
All
everyone
right,
else who have been watching this video, thank you very much. And I'll see you all later. Goodbye, everyone.
I'm out.
Bye bye.